Good afternoon. Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's incredible episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick. And yes, indeed, friends. And that is what I have surrounded myself with today. The panel is stacked. Now, we are down two members. Obviously, Clowns has taken the day off, but he will be reprising his role next week on Monday's Primetime Gaming. He will also be joining me tomorrow at noon as we talk about the future of Xbox, and that panel is going to be stacked as well. And of course, Gaming Forte will not be joining us. He is traveling back from spending the day with what I think to be the most important thing, and that is with his family. And of course, he will be returning next week to talk about everything that has gone on, that will be going on this week. Obviously, this is Christmas for anyone who is an Xbox fan, but I'd like to think of it as like the holiday come early for gamers as a whole, because I think that with Microsoft on the right track and doing the right things by its fans, I think that even if you are exclusively a PlayStation player, you have a very good shot of coming back home, potentially if you were an Xbox player in the early days of the PS3 and 360 days. But let's get into the introductions. But actually, before I do, I have to thank Black Eye Dog, because before the show even started, he dropped an outstanding $10 super chat. So Black Eye Dog, I want to thank you for, first of all, for being here, but also showing me the outstanding generosity that you continue doing. He says this: "Hey, Boom, I can't stay up for the show, late here in the UK and gotta work tomorrow. Just wanted to show my appreciation." And yes, Black Eye Dog, thank you for being overly generous and, of course, always listening to the show. But let's get into the introductions. Now, we have two special guests. Now, one, you know him as being a regular panel member for Breakfast with Boom. He is our resident, well, at least one of the hosts of a very little program that I think everyone should be watching, and that's called Retro Renegades. He's also a chainsaw touting dominant person when it comes to playing Gears 5 online. So if you get cut in half by him, don't feel bad. It happens to a lot of people. Please welcome Crispy Bomb.
Oh, what's up, Boom? Thank you for the outstanding introduction. And I mean, what a panel we got. We had just the conversation before, just got me all amped up. Bunch of gamers ready to talk games, baby. Let's go.
Yes, this is going to be a great show. Potentially controversial in some aspects. I will admit early and often that we do have a subject that might get a few people salty. But of course, as Boom always does, he brings the evidence in tow. So I'm not talking out of my ass. And I think everyone is going to understand exactly where I'm coming from. Next up, now he is making his debut on the Double Barrel Gaming Network. You might have heard him last week on Noof's amazing show, and that is obviously that airs every week. First of all, middle-aged gamer guy, you have been very vocal in the community, and you're always on Twitter. We know that you're a diehard gamer through and through. You own all the consoles. But you're making your debut here because you have a lot to say. Please welcome to the show all the way from Toronto, Canada.
Well, good evening, Boom. Good evening, chat. And good evening to this esteemed panel of some of the finest minds in the gaming world. I am the middle-aged game guy. I am super excited to be here. This is like a dream come true for me of how many nights, honestly, I've listened to you guys and I would be partaking in conversations and none of you can hear me. But here I am now. So, you know what? Honestly, it's an absolute privilege, Boom, to be here. Let's have a great show. We got some great topics. Let's get into it.
Well, I got to be honest with you, because obviously Noof Nukem debuted you on Gaming After Dark, which is his weekly, program that is, let's just say, a little bit more adult, but fantastic nonetheless. And I think everyone should seriously consider listening to that on a weekly basis. And of course, you're here tonight, and I can guarantee you, just based on the conversation we had earlier, you will be back. There's no doubt about it. But let's continue. Next up, our resident Cape Crusader, someone who cannot wait to see Zack Snyder's The Justice League, actually the real Justice League, coming out early next year. Cybernox, welcome back to the program, my brother.
Is it Thursday yet? That's all I want to know. Is it Thursday yet? Because I am hyped for this week. Okay. Ain't nobody stopping me. Okay. At work, I already let them know. Listen, there's something going down Thursday, and I may not be here. Nah, I'm just glad to be here. It's Monday. You know, we like to start off the week talking games, get this week started off on the right foot. Glad to have Crispy back on the panel. Middle-aged game guy, welcome. Glad you're here. Tempest, my brother, what's going on? Boom. Always a pleasure. Chat, let's go.
Yeah, well, listen, yes, it is. Is it Thursday yet? But you know what? Don't wish too far into the future, because actually I have something special to share with the community midway through the show. And this week is probably going to be the busiest programming week for me personally. You are getting 5 days in a row of live coverage, Monday through Friday. I talked about it last week, and I'll be talking about it more towards the end of the show. But if you are enjoying Double Barrel Gaming and you enjoy the programs and the sensibility that I bring, at least I'd like to believe that I bring to the community when it comes to gaming as a whole, you're going to want to tune in for every show, because we're going to be talking Xbox like crazy, but we're also not going to forget there are 2 other consoles that are still around. I mean, more specifically, like, for instance, Ghost of Tsushima. I'm playing it right now. I'm over 20 hours in. I'll say it now. I could be wrong. I could make or jump the gun, so to speak. It's my game of the year. It is everything I could ever have wanted from Sucker Punch. It is basically Assassin's Creed, but made by someone else. It is. I've been posting pictures. I played for about 7 hours today. I took the day off of doing anything, because that's why I had written the shows well in advance. And it is my game of the year. It is absolute. I was playing it literally minutes before I went live on the show. I cannot stop. It is amazing. So if you have any doubts or any questions, hit me up in a DM, and I will definitely give you the lowdown. And last, and in no way least, he gets embarrassed when I say this, but he is a multiplayer assassin of the highest caliber. Please welcome Tempest Son.
Hey, Boom. Excited to be here today. Man, we got a lot to be excited about this week. We really, really do. And yeah, just like Cyber asked, is it Thursday yet? But before we get into it, I just want to say a gentleman in the community, his name is Sean. His Twitter and on the shows here is Pure Flack Monkey. He's making the round everybody's shows in the community. I just want to wish him a speedy recovery. He's getting heart transplant surgery today.
Wow,
he should be in there right now. So I'm pretty sure he's going to catch up on the show. So let's give him some love, and hopefully he makes a good enough recovery where he can watch the festivities on Thursday. So
Definitely much prayers and blessings out to him, because that's not an easy surgery. And of course, we want the best wishes. I'm glad you shared that with us. Thank you so much for that, because obviously, if you want, towards the end of the show, we'll just give his gamer tag, his Twitter handle, so maybe people in the community could reach out to him personally with some well wishes. That trust me, that helps more than you know when people you don't know actually stop by and say hello and wish you the best of health. That helps in the recovery for sure. So thanks so much for sharing. And real quick, I just want to just shout out D Duplicate. Drops a $2 super sticker. Thank you for being here, and also thank you for your generosity. And we also have Spider-Man. Hey, dude, thank you so much, and welcome to the program. He drops a $5 super chat and says, "It's the OG gamer, the man who has owned every console, the officer who has never let any exclusive gaming satchel get away. Mr. Boomstick is like, well, thank you. Yes, listen. Yes, I did buy the collector's edition of Ghost of Tsushima, and dude, oh my God, that mask is dope. I don't have it up yet because I have to make some, let's say, adjustments to my collection. That means something's going into storage. I just don't know what it is. But you know what? Let's get into the first salty, spicy, whatever you want to add to the back end of it topic. Look, the secrecy around the PlayStation 5, in my opinion, has reached the level of the Cold War tactics. And sure, Mark Cerny, as we know, bored and put people to sleep, who turned in for the PlayStation 5 developers conference on March 18th, and quoting the Washington Post, who watched it, said, "Confused fans still have no idea what the PlayStation 5 looks like, and new details of the PS5 were wrapped in a highly technical presentation meant for game developers, not gamers. As it was, as we originally talked about that many months ago, it was framed as being for the gamers when we know it wasn't. Now, Epic Games, a few months later, in May, Epic Games shared the first glimpse of the Unreal Engine 5 in action during the Summer Games Fest stream on May 13th. And during the stream, Epic Games focused its very specifically, of course, on the Lumen Dynamic Lighting tool and 9at micro polygon tool that form core aspects of the new engine. And of course, look, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I wish that was a game because it looked phenomenal. And I was over the moon impressed. Because obviously that was focused on the PlayStation 5, and that's what we can expect. And I'm buying a system day one, so I'm excited. But on June 11th, we got our first look at the games that will be leading the charge for the PlayStation 5 when it launches this fall, and a glimpse into 2021 and beyond with first looks at Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, Gran Turismo, Ratchet & Clank, and the Demon's Souls remake. We also got our first look at both the disc-based PS5 and the digital version, which shocked many gamers across the globe, including myself. And though outside of seeing the PlayStation 5s, some of the gamers, some of the games being released and some of the technical stats regarding the high-powered SSD for the PlayStation 5's strengths and weaknesses still remain a mystery. Well, this is where we get into the weeds, so to speak. And on Friday afternoon, my DMs exploded with the Ubisoft support answering a Twitter user's question regarding Far Cry 6 running on the Xbox Series X and the Xbox One X, and how they answered it has set an uncontrollable fire throughout social media, and it's still sizzling days later. Now, I've been, of course, like to bring facts, and I like to bring more than just simple opinions. So I have been waiting for Sony to issue some sort of response. And as of this show, they have not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a couple of pictures. And these are the tweets that came up. And here's the first response. It's the one that's in white. It says this. Hey there, as stated on the banner, Far Cry 6 is 4K Ultra HD on the Xbox One and Xbox Series X only. Apologies for the inconvenience caused. And very shortly after, whoever this was answering from Ubisoft support, amending our previous reply. The highlighted text in the above image refers only to the Xbox systems, which will run Far Cry 6 in 4K Ultra HD, Xbox One X, and Xbox Series X. Ubisoft support has no information to add about other systems at this time. Now, I saw a couple of, as a matter of fact, I believe it's Face BK20. I think it's Face BK23. He's already, he had to mention something in the chat about, that this was debunked. And you know what? I was waiting for Sony to debunk it. And then I did a little police work, something I used to do previously to being a podcaster. And I sorted out the advertisement for Far Cry 6. And I did something, I took a magnifying glass like, a Sherlock Holmes would, and I did some searching. And this documentation on the left-hand side here with the first big yellow arrow is the official advertisement from Ubisoft. This is on their paperwork. This is not something I doctored. This is the real deal. Available on 2/18/21. Pre-order now. This is the official Ubisoft advertisement for Far Cry 6. And then as you look onto the right panel, if you're looking on your phone, look at what it says that is with another second smaller yellow arrow. It says this: 4K Ultra HD on Xbox One X and Xbox Series X only. Now, listen, I'm not trying to say that the PlayStation 5 is not going to be able to achieve 4K. I have no idea what they're going to be able to achieve, quite frankly, because they have been so close to the vest with everything that the PlayStation 5 can do that we are only kind of just hanging out in speculation town when it comes to Sony's new product. Whereas Microsoft has been very forthcoming, very open. I mean, for crying out loud, they had Austin Evans and the folks from Digital Foundry build the freaking system live on the air for everyone to look at. And Jason Ronald, who is obviously the lead, the lead dude when it comes to the Series X, has been out there speaking with the people. And every other week there's a news bomb drop from him on Xbox Wire, just like it was this week, last week, regarding the Velocity engine, or the architecture, I should say. So I want to go to one of our guests first, middle-aged gamer guy. You obviously were, very, very hyped to be on the show, and of course that is awesome because we love the excitement that you bring with you. You see what I'm bringing to the table. This is not something that I made. I made up in my basement, looking to try and focus that the Series X is the best system, but this is what it is. And this is on their actual documentation. What are your thoughts on this? And why haven't we heard from Sony yet?
Oh boy, I got a lot to say here. Now,
by all means, this is a conversational podcast, brother. Talk away. Okay,
here we go. I'm going to give you two trains of thought here, but I'm going to stay out of the tech talk. I'm going to leave that to someone like Dealer, but I'm going to give you a little bit of my philosophy and what I think is going on here. Now, I did do some research on this, and I looked it up, and actually, the answer could be very, very simple, or it could be very complicated. I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out. Tom Warren has come out and actually said that this situation is simply all about branding. It's simply not true that the PS5 would not be able to accomplish 4K. Now, for example, Microsoft has branded, and I'll put it like some quotes here, 4K Ultra HD, and HDR is actually branded with Microsoft. On the other hand, Sony has branded, quotes again, 4K HDR. Now, if you look closely at that tweet, like you showed just a few moments ago, it specifically says 4K Ultra HD, and of course, they have the marketing deal with Microsoft. Right. Therefore, we all know how marketing deals go, right? You with their tricksy wording. I mean, you remember a couple of years ago with Red Dead Redemption 2, when PlayStation had it, you went outside your GameStops, your EB Games here in Canada, and they had the big word that said exclusive.
Yes.
And then you look underneath with your magnifying glass, and it said free hat and slacks.
I was about to say, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you look at that, and that's the perception to the casuals that only Sony had that game. So the same rules apply here. It could simply just be marketing and branding. Okay, now let me just take off this hat and time to stick on the tin foil hat. Here's the nasty. Here's where it might get a little nasty.
I wear that one all the time.
Oh, this is going to be something. Maybe there's something nefarious going on at Sony. Okay, I mean, it's just their silence, their mixed messaging, their lack of confidence has me slightly concerned. Now, think about this. Everybody, chat, panel, in the past, Sony would jump out in front of any controversy or concerns of ill will.
Yes.
Now, they're not saying anything.
Yep.
Now, there's two possible reasons in my mind. Okay. And like, again, this is just my thoughts. They're either super confident or cocky or both, or they were unprepared for the hailstorm that hot off the grill Phil was bringing to the table. And by the way, doesn't this sound a lot like the 2013 Xbox? Think about the checklist.
It really does, dude.
Okay, let's do a checklist right now. I'll do them right on my fingers. Mixed messaging? Check. Silence? Check. Seeming confusion? Check. More questions than answers? Check. This isn't a problem for me. This isn't a problem for you, Boom, or the rest of the panel, or the people in the chat. We're the hardcore. We're buying the PS5 day one. I swear, even if Sony asked us to sacrifice the blood of a virgin, we're going to give it to them. We're getting this console. Mm-hmm. But just like Microsoft, this earlier part of the gen, if your marketing, your messaging, and your confidence in the product is not there, you're going to find skittish consumers not willing to invest their money, particularly, by the way, during this harsh financial climate.
Yeah, great point.
they've got to be very careful. And if the PS5 is, well, I would presume is more powerful than the Xbox One X, then why would they not be able to pull off 4K? Why am I asking these questions? Why isn't Sony answering these questions? Why aren't they coming out to squash this? These are not the questions that we want to be asking right now. And if we don't know what's going on over there, that doesn't provide the consumer with a whole lot of confidence to plunk down $400 to $500 plus games, plus accessories. This is very concerning to me. So, this is my darker take on what's actually going on. And then you look at that whole tweet today. Everybody saw it. Okay, the Miles Morales situation. When I first saw that, you know what? That really got me going, that tweet, because when I saw it first, I was at work and I quickly glanced and I saw, hey, 4K 60, fantastic. But then someone in the comment section said, read the words carefully. And then I looked and it said 4K 60 option. And I'm like, wait a minute, 4K 60, why would that be an option? Isn't that what we want? Isn't that the ultimate goal? And then I thought about it. Wait a minute. Then I saw 4K/60. So it gave you the impression that it was 4K 60. But no, that's not what they were saying. They're saying that it's either going to be 4K or 60 frames per second. Mm-hmm. And I did not like that. And so I don't, like I said, I don't know what's going on here. But I mean, I see right there on the screen right now what you're just showing me. I'm showing it. So, it could be, in my opinion, once again, it's either marketing, okay, and tricksy wording, or Sony can't handle 4K Ultra HD. So, but we don't know, because you know why? Because Sony ain't talking.
Well,
that's all I have to say.
I'm going to say this. First of all, what an introduction. I can guarantee you we're going to get calls to have you back immediately, because not only do you handle yourself professionally, you sound like you know exactly what you're talking about. And I love that, dude. Like I said, I heard
Have you got a radio job, huh?
I heard you on Noof's show and you completely killed it there, and it appears you're going to do the same here. Crispy Bomb, you've been chomping at the bit since 15 minutes before we went live, because you got in here early and we were talking behind the scenes. And it's funny because I did not originally write this because with Miles Morales in mind, because I'm not a fortune teller. I didn't know what they were going to tweet today. And when you think about the way middle-aged gamer guy just painted this for us, right? With what I said up front, and then he brings on the back end. Well, wait a second. We got this thing from Insomniac Games today, and I got to be honest with you, very much like a middle-aged gamer guy. When I first saw it, I said, "Whoa, 4K 60! Now we're talking. Mm-hmm. Now they must have heard the people." And then I started reading people's tweets, and a lot of people in the community were like, no, boom, you got to read the words. And I went back and I read it, and I said, wait, hold on a second. It's not saying 4K 60. It seems as if when you really sit down and you analyze it, it's saying it's the 4K or it's the 60. Now, they're not saying what's on the other back end of that 60. It's not going to be 4K. Now, is it 1440p? Is it 1880p? Is it 1080p? I don't know. Because, like we talked about moments ago, Sony, if they would have had the correct information and the confidence, they could have put the kibosh on this on Friday and be like, no, just a second, Ubisoft, that's wrong. And their marketing has been flawless. So, Crispy, is there something afoot here?
Yeah. and here's why I say this, is that we play games now, and there is a lot of software and a lot of hardware involved. Okay. And I truly feel like Xbox has finally figured out how to make games better using only software and not just the hardware. The hardware needs to be there, but they can actually make it even better using the software. And my example is, I don't even care, because I've already been playing 4K 60 on Gears 5.
Yes.
And there's a reason that the 1X is listed here, because whatever voodoo magic they use, guess what? It is there, and they've already done it. And for you to sit here and ignore that PlayStation, and they've done this throughout the generation. They really have. After the debacle in 2013, they have kind of done what Microsoft did in the beginning, and they're like, oh, slash or oh, you're getting 4K, but really it's checkerboarded, and all of these things that they've done, they continue to do it, and they continue to not debunk people, and they continue to not say a word. And that's not something that I saw the generation before when they were touting how powerful the PlayStation 3 was. So it concerns me that if these boxes are the same price and you're not even getting close to the same quality and resolution and frames per second, you might have a problem. You know what I mean? You might not be satisfied. And this is where Xbox has just been on point. Like, we are going for the best. Is a game like Gears 5 going to run 4K 120 the whole time? But I'll tell you right now, I know it's going to run 120 frames per second, and it might down res at times. You know what I mean? But PlayStation has not singled out what they're trying to get out of next gen. And that concerns the hell out of me, because I feel like they're just like, oh, we could just put out our brand and everybody's going to buy it. And, hey, 150 million. Yeah, great. Okay, but we're into a new generation, a generation where gamers want to keep the games they have, see a little bump in resolution and frames per second, and they will be like, oh, I can go back to that game and play it. I don't have to have the 3 games that I dealt with through half my life. You know what I mean? When you start a generation, you're like, ooh, I got 3 games to play for 6 months. Yay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's something that just I'm concerned for the people that love PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily myself. I have no inkling at this time. Ghost of Tsushima, boom. I called it. I said people are gonna like this game more than Last of Us. And that's the game that I would probably purchase first when I buy my buddy's PS4 Pro. But I'm not gonna get a PS5 unless the price is significantly cheaper than what I think it's going to be. You know what I mean? And that's because I don't trust what they're doing. They have shady tactics. I've watched these shady tactics, and unfortunately, none of the people that really love PlayStation are really always there necessarily call them out. Like, especially if they own the console only, they don't call that out. You know what I mean? Me, Xbox, they screw with me, dude. How long have I said, the microtransactions suck in Gears 5? I must have said it a million times. You know what I mean? And then they finally fixed it. But that's what I'm used to. I'm used to Xbox finally. It might take a while. There's a lot of coding involved and stuff, but they may finally listen to us, or they acknowledge that there's a problem, and they try to fix it immediately. Especially with the services and everything. Like, they're like, oh, we know, we've heard you. The servers are down. This and that, dude. Xboxes right now is just about us, the gamer, the consumer. This is Phil Spencer's vision, and this is something that I trust the ecosystem that I'm in, and I'm willing to invest in that ecosystem. And at this point in time, with social media and everything else, with people being at home, you have to understand that your marketing will be overanalyzed. It will be nitpicked. People have nothing better to do. So that is something that they are not getting. They're just not getting it. And I love that even like a bunch of like Aaron Greenberg, other people are just been like, this happened, or I screwed up, or this and that. Like, have a conversation with the consumers, the gamers, the
community is more specifically, because that's the one thing that they lack the forward thinking when it comes to involving community into the conversation, which I got to be honest with you, I think is pretty lousy when you look at what Microsoft does. I mean, here's a perfect example of what you're saying. Right after the show, there were a lot of, I'm referring to the PlayStation show. There were a lot of questions as to what games were going to be exclusive and what were not. What did Aaron Greenberg get out there and do? He went out there on Twitter and listed every game that was coming to the Series X. right? Like he went out there, not 3 hours later, not 4 days later, not a week later, minutes after the show went live, and we were all starting to watch these trailers in HD. He puts out a tweet. Oh, by the way, yeah, this game. He listed about 6 or 7 of them that are all coming to Series X. And people are like, oh, okay, now we don't have to worry because we thought those were exclusives. See, Sony is listen. I mean, I understand it's their marketing. Their marketing is very good, but they can be very shady at times. And it's. I'll put it to you this way: if they could have easily fixed this with a tweet. Jim Ryan could have easily, or Herman Hulst could have easily been like, you know what, that's a miscommunication. That's not what they meant. This is what it is. Yes, the PlayStation 5 can in fact do this, that, and the third. The fact that they haven't said anything is tremendously concerning. And if you don't think so, I hear you. If you that's fine.
Yeah,
if it doesn't matter to you, I hear you.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where we go and say we have 2 different realms on the spectrum. We have people trying to do the right thing and trying to make things better and trying to, not necessarily bring people back, but maintain the love and joy we have on our Xbox consoles. Yes. And then you have the other side, which still has not sold this multiplayer centric gamer on why I should buy a PlayStation 5, and also has what I would call very shady and miscommunication to the gamers that they already have. And I see a lot of people that have both consoles. They tell me all the time, like, I love the exclusives on PlayStation, but I play primarily on my Xbox because the ecosystem is better. The interactions with people, especially in these times, is better. I mean, you could tell me not, but I've literally converted multiple people to either Xbox or they're going to buy a Series X because they've seen the interactions I have, just living in my house as a roommate or whatever. They're like, wow, like you have a lot of fun just even talking to people, and that's something I don't get there. What I mean? And that's sad because you have your Call of Duties, you have everything else, but I mean, this is a multi-plat. Shouldn't you want to at least debunk this? Shouldn't you want people to be like, oh no, we're fine over here. We got everything going. It's gonna be 4K. It's gonna have a good frames per second, whatever. Say something. You know what I mean? Like they don't say anything. It's like it's just baffling to me, and I just don't understand it. And the shame on the PlayStation gamers that only play on PlayStation that just continue to, especially if you have a 4K TV or you have the hardware involved with the console, and you're just like, oh yeah, everything's fine. And I'm like, no, I don't do that with Xbox. I love Xbox, but sometimes I'm like, what are you doing?
You call them out when it's need be,
but you don't have to trash them either. Like, don't.
No. You can ask a question and even show concern, but you putting your head in the sand just because it's your favorite. I mean, I've publicly said for years that their marketing needed a boost, and they have delivered. Microsoft. I said, listen, I don't want you to be like PlayStation, but I want you to act like PlayStation. And now they have been doing that, and obviously we've seen a resurgence in Xbox and their marketing. Their messaging has been fantastic. Their inclusiveness has been incredible. They have left nothing off of the table. You know everything that you could possibly want to know about the Series X. There is not a thing on that console outside of what it's going to smell like when you take it out of the box or the packaging, hopefully sooner than later. That's the only thing you don't know. You don't know what it's
and what it's going to cost. But I mean, they're playing chicken.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm going to say this. I'm going to bring Cybernox into the conversation simply because he actually responded on this Miles Morales tweet. And I'm going to get his opinion on this, but let me just catch up on some of the super chats. First of all, Lousy Painter. Love the name. I don't think you're a lousy painter. Hopefully you are an actual painter and you're pretty good. He drops a $5 subject, and he actually asks a very intriguing question. He says, perhaps if Microsoft releases more third-person action games and supports them with sequels, will it benefit them? Well, absolutely, it would benefit them. And amen to you, brother, because that's what exactly I'm looking for on many of Microsoft's unannounced and announced IPs. I'd love to see more action third-person games like PlayStation. I'm sorry, I enjoy them. And Sikio Yumi drops a very generous $5 super chat. Welcome to the show, as always, and says, "Ponies, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is not worth $15. Not a true gamer. How much money do you spend on TV subs? Go tie your hands." And stare into the TV. I'm sorry, I couldn't finish, but I couldn't read that without laughing. Well, I mean, listen, I'm not saying I don't get it. If I were to get $1 for every, or a month of Game Pass every time I've sold it and I talk about it on my shows, I wouldn't have to pay for the rest of my life, because I'm always talking about Game Pass, because it is a great service. If it's not for you, listen, I'm not going to argue with you. Eagles fan 76. Hey, dude, thank you so much for being here. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Can you release the full specs on PlayStation 5? Sony. Our numbers on PlayStation 5 are under audit soon. As the audit is done, we will release the full specs." If that's what they really said, then yikes. That's not an answer. That is something that you defer while you're in the courtroom to "I plead the fifth." That's exactly what it sounds like to me. Viper XT, a very generous donor and a fan of the show. Thanks for being here, Viper. Super appreciated. He actually said funny, he's here so the show can start. Thank you. I appreciate that, my brother. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says 4K or 60 FPS for Spider-Man Miles Morales. Says how I've read it. Disappointing start for for a PlayStation 5 if that's the way. That's a true fact. And my very good friend Kay Asante, we've been going back and forth on Twitter. He had some really, really good points about used versus digital, and he brought up the pictures. He had the evidence to prove it. Kay Asante, thanks for the $5 super chat, also being here. He says, "Mr. Boom and esteemed panelists, great convo. This is all clinical. This is what Sony PS3 to 4, MS360 to 1. They win a generation, get bold, and make a bad move." Listen, folks, and that's a great point, Kay Asante. I've said this before, and I'm not even trying to be facetious in any way. When if you look at history, folks, and we're going back, I don't know, 15 years. Let's go back 15 years and just look at the actual facts. The Wii was something that we've never experienced before, right? We've never experienced motion controls. I mean, I could play Wii bowling for 9 hours straight and just absolutely love it, right? As simple as it was amazing. And that console resonated with 3-year-olds to 93 years old. It's unheard of. It's never been done again, right? Nintendo, not listening to their fan base, failed with the Wii U on everything. Messaging, marketing, console design. People had no idea what the hell it was. Was it a tablet? Looked like a Fisher-Price thing. You give your 5-year-old, no one knew. PS2 to PS3. PS2 reigned supreme. PS3, if you want this console, get another job. Remember E3?
Yeah.
You remember that? I remember that. I remember, this is history accurate. Oh, hit the killer crab on its back. Folks, come on. They made a big boo-boo and they recovered, right? So we've seen the same failure happen with Microsoft. 360 reigned supreme, right? Even though Sony edged them out at the end, they were the champions. Even surviving the Red Ring of Death, folks. Mm-hmm. Right? Xbox One failure. So we saw failures, from wins to failures, and then we saw PlayStation 4, right? PlayStation 4, really a winner, right? Switch, super winner. Why can't we assume, and just based on the information that we have in front of us that Microsoft has given us regarding their next generation plans, just politely assume that they're going to have the same thing happen? Why can't it happen to Microsoft? See, that's that, and I don't want to get into a console war conversation, but that's where I have to draw the line and say that there is a tremendous double standard that it only works for Sony and Nintendo, and when it comes to Microsoft, all bets are off. And I think that's wrong. I think if you're going to judge, you need to be even across the board. But you know what? Let's bring Cybernox into the conversation. Cybernox, okay, here's the deal. you put out a tweet I thought was interesting because you had asked a bunch of questions, and that wasn't originally a part of this topic, but now it is, because obviously this happened on Friday with Ubisoft, and the French publisher confirmed, right? You saw the tweets. That, sorry for the misunderstanding. It's Ultra 4K HD for these two consoles only. Sorry, and that's how it was. And now we have not heard from Sony. They did not make a tweet. People in the community have tweeted, right? We've seen all the PlayStation fans saying, no, it's wrong, but we have not heard from Sony themselves. It is perplexing. And then, of course, the Miles Morales thing comes out, and like me not reading the fine print, and that's happened to many people in this chat, which we're close up to, wow, we're already over 430 people, which is awesome. We've all done that, right? We've all not read the fine print on something. I immediately equated what I saw to 4K 60, and I got excited. I was like, yes, here we go. They heard us. They did something. Insomniac did something, but it turns out that's not the truth. What are your thoughts on this, dude?
Well, it goes to show you the direction that both companies are heading towards, right? You see Sony, for some reason, they've done a complete 180 from their marketing from the PS4 era. Like, their marketing this generation has been one of the best, if not the best, I've ever seen. They know when to say the right things. They know when to stay quiet. Their advertisements were fantastic. The way they showcase their games, all in all. And then all of a sudden there was this change in leadership, and they were going through a restructure, and they haven't seemed to have gotten their bearings yet, and it's tweets like this, and so the tweet I responded, I was like, I'm still trying to decipher this tweet. Are you saying that we're going to be able, are we going to see two modes? Are we going to see a high resolution mode, which will be 4K, and then we're going to see a performance mode, which will be 60 frames, but we won't know the resolution? Or is this thing 4K 60? A lot of people ran with the 4K 60. Some people are saying that they're going to be two different modes. Like, nobody knows. This mixed messaging has never happened to this extent with Sony, and it just baffles my mind. Like, at this point right now, and I think what both Crispy and middle-aged gamer guy alluded to earlier is they're just counting on their brand recognition. They're just thinking, hey, we have 100 million plus PS4s out there. Our pre-orders already, our demand, let's say, from what we can see, I'm sure they have surveys that they've done, through so many different sites and so many different places, that they're saying, hey, our pre-orders are going to be insane. They just upped their production to 10 million units, right, worldwide. So they know that this thing is going to sell regardless, but they're not being as transparent as Microsoft is and as Xbox is. And that just, in this day and age, with all the YouTube channels that there are, with all the way you can go and get your information, whatever they put out, and at the end of the day, it's not what they said it was going to be. It's just gonna get out there one way or another. Sooner or later, it will get out there. For example, this Miles Morales, if it comes out and it's playing at, let's say, 1440p 60, people will know. Or 4K 30, people also know, regardless of how they decide to market this thing. So I'm not sure why not just go ahead and be transparent with your audience and tell them exactly what's going on. But I just don't understand this Sony anymore. You don't know what you're gonna get with them right now. Sure, they've had a tremendous year or generation with the PS4, and they benefited from. It was like a perfect storm that surrounded Microsoft. All right. And they freaking capitalized tremendously based on that storm. They said, oh my God, they had everything down to a T after that E3, from that marketing, from this is how we share games.
Dude, that was the tag. Yes.
But if you think about it, Microsoft still survived. Xbox still survived. Not a lot of companies would have, been able to take that kind of blow and still been here today, so yeah, man, I don't understand what's going on with Sony. This thing with Far Cry as well, they still haven't said anything. You know, is it because their console seems to be powerful as well. You know, their console is the PS5 is going to be a powerful console, but the way they don't get in front of everything anymore, they just let things go. It could be, you know, it could be a little bit of cockiness from Sony, and they're saying, hey, you know what, we already got the numbers, we're gonna continue to have the numbers, so we're fine. It just shows the way that both these companies are going. Microsoft is being very transparent, relying on their services, their software, and Sony, in one way, is relying on old school tactics. They want everybody to have this hardware so they can potentially sell their software, whereas Microsoft just wants their services anywhere they can go. But I don't know, man. Sony needs to step the game up on their messaging and their marketing, in my opinion.
Well, you know what? It's funny because, you know, one of the tropes that Microsoft has dug their own grave for is wait for E3, right? And, you know, and obviously they have responded in kind to going into this next generation, completely different what they did regarding output and being transparent and wanting to have, you know, everything that you could want as a consumer to be in that ecosystem. They're delivering that. And, you know, one of the things I find to be, again, you said it, Sony's marketing has really taken a dump, so to speak. They pulled a 180. And when you look at, you know, we should have had I mean, their show, I gave it a B+. I thought their show was fantastic. As a matter of fact, I'm buying all of their games. I'm not getting bug snacks, but I mean, you know, most of the games there, even Demon Souls, which I'm going to be terrible at. And a good friend of the show, Sin Vendetta, who I've not seen yet, but he's here. If you're listening, Sin, I know you can't wait for that game because that is your cup of tea. And you know what? I cannot wait for you to hear what you have to say when playing, because that game looked amazing. I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to suck at it and probably not even get past the first boss, but I'm going to buy it nonetheless. And we with everything that we know about Sony, their big event, their big E3 event that took the world by storm in June, we still don't know so much, and it is really a bit of a head scratcher. But you know what? Let's bring Tempest Sun in. Tempest, look, there are certainly more questions than there are answers. And even though, again, I brought this up as not to be a finger pointing or console war shenanigans topic, I brought proof in tow. This is what it says on their advertisement. I didn't make that up. Sony never responded. As a matter of fact, when I got done writing this topic late Saturday, I was, to be honest with you, selfishly enough, hoping that they wouldn't respond, because I spent a couple hours writing the topic. So I was like, man, I don't want to have to just deep six this topic. But here it is. And then, of course, the Miles Morales thing adds more fuel to the fire. It's already burning out of control. And someone just says, hey, I think it needs more gas. Let's drop that canister in there. And it exploded on social media. Why is this happening? What has happened to Sony? And are they not specifically saying something because they know something that about the power of the console?
Yeah. First off, I actually truly do, and I really do mean this. I want to give credit where credit is due. I thought if Miles Morales dropped without a 60 frames per second mode, I said it on Twitter and I said it on the show, I thought that would be truly pathetic. Like, honestly pathetic. And it would piss me off. In case I ever decided to play the game, it would take me off.
Hell yeah.
So credit where credit is due. It doesn't matter what resolution it is at. If you are giving an option for 60 frames per second mode, I applaud it. I honestly do. Thank you. That needs to be an option on every game out there, period. So if they do it, maybe Guerrilla Games will give you a 60 frames per second mode. If that game was running 4K 30, I mean, normally, I don't care if it's 1080p. I mean, yeah, that certainly makes your game look more blurry. But I'm honestly, truly getting sick and tired of.
I'd like to believe that they're going to be running minimum 1440p. In my opinion.
I would hope so.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not saying that that's what it's going to be. I'm just saying it doesn't matter. Whatever it takes. Like all these game developers should be like the Avengers and Endgame. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. They need 60 frames per second. I'm getting so tired of 30. As a matter of fact, a little side tangent. I was going to get Ghost of Tsushima, but I only have the base PS4, and I looked at Digital Foundry's video, and there was very, very consistent drops under 30 frames per second. So I was like, man, I was teetering on buying it or not. I went ahead and I looked up Neo 2 because it's a lot of the same flavors, if you know what I mean. And there's a performance mode in there, and it seems like it holds 60 frames per second pretty well. I can tell it looks like it's maybe like 900p or 1080p. I don't know, but it's noticeably, it's not going to be crisp, if you know what I mean. But hey, it runs buttery smooth, and I am really enjoying it, like really,
especially on a game that requires a lot of timing, right?
Exactly. No, I was tickled to death that there was a performance mode. All games need to have that, so I just want to applaud them for at least allowing it. And I'll be completely honest though, when you see Ultra, or 4K Ultra HD on Xbox One X and Xbox Series X only, they might not be lying. And this was a choice. Clearly, Sony decided to put a lot of R&D time in their controller. You can blow in it and all this other crap, right? So clearly they put a lot of resources into that. And maybe they should have just gave us a little bit more console. And it's not even just the teraflop numbers. It's the fact that a Sony engineer came out and he said that it's a mixture of RDNA 1 and 2.
And 2. It's not actually 2. It's it's funny. Dealer many months ago, I got to give Dealer massive credit because he actually said it, and people booed him for it. That he had heard from the inside, from his connections, and he has quite a few of them, that it was not RDNA 2, that it was a hybrid of 1 and 2.
Yeah. So you're not going to have the machine learning. You're not going to have the VRS and all those little things. In the grand scheme of things, do they add? Maybe they only add 5 to 10 frames seconds more. Maybe in some cases it's even more than that. But when you have all those features plus the extra horsepower, Ubisoft looks, and it disappoints me greatly because one of my most look forward to games is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I mean, that is like in my top 3 for what I'm excited for. I don't think I'm going to get a performance mode on that game on the Xbox Series X. And that really bothers me. It really bothers me. But Ubisoft seems like they're set in their ways. They're going to push visual fidelity above all else. What did they give Digital Foundry to test with Watch Dogs Legion? Everything was on ultra settings with ray tracing turned on, native 4K resolution on a 2080 Ti machine. It was capped at 30 frames per second.
It's crazy. It is perplexing for sure.
Yeah. So saying that, I'm not trying to piss on PlayStation here, but if their intent is to do highest resolution they can, highest fidelity, ultra settings, plus ray tracing turned on, and there's no option to turn it off, you might be noticing situations where that is only going to be on the Series X, and it makes sense. Why does it say Xbox One X only? Because currently, if you go play Far Cry 5, it's 1440p on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and it's native for, it might not be above 1440p. So don't quote me on that. Probably wrong. It's probably like 1800p or something, but it is native 4K on the One X.
Yes.
So I would actually take this word for word. It might be a case that they just can't say anything due to the marketing rights being with Xbox. Maybe they can't even so much as utter a word. And we've seen these kind of tactics with, PlayStation, not being able to say anything about Xbox. Like you don't even know an Xbox version is coming out on some games. You know what I'm saying? That could be the case too. But listen, folks, 9.2 teraflops that can be boosted to 10.3 on the GPU. Plus not having the extra bells and whistles of RDNA 2.0 versus, 12 teraflops with all the bells and whistles. It's just, don't get mad at Microsoft or these companies, whatever. Get mad at PlayStation for not putting more power in their box. They clearly had their mind set on different things. And power wasn't one of them, obviously. Now I will say this though, I still think the PlayStation 5 for its price is going to be in a tremendous value. of power
Right.
per price, right? I do truly think that. So if you only plan on getting a PS5, you're still going to love it. The third-party games are still going to look and play great, but just don't get too upset when you go to a site like Digital Foundry and they start doing these comparisons. Like, don't get mad at them. Don't shoot the messenger, right? So I don't know. You're going to see more and more of this, and I would actually take that advertisement for what it is. It probably can't. The way they're going to give you the game, you're probably not going to be able to do on the PS5, which also pisses me off because that means we're probably not getting a 60 frames per second mode, which means it's a fail on the Series X and the PS5. I think Ubisoft needs to get their head out of their freaking butt and listen to their customers. We're begging for 60 frames per second mode, and
options are good, dude. Options are good.
I don't know if it was always going to have a 60 frames per second mode, Miles Morales, but even if they are just telling us it's going to have that mode and they're going to add it in after effect, at least they're responding to community feedback, right? So whether it was planned or not planned, I don't care. I'm so happy that PlayStation fans will get a 60 frames per second mode on it's Spider-Man. Look how quick he moves. Come on. Like, that's needed, especially on a new console. It's needed. So that's where I stand on this whole thing. But
well, look, I'm going to say this. This was a great opening topic. We're 55 minutes into the show. I guess everyone completely knocked it out of the park. No one was finger pointy. I think everyone really just asked a lot of questions that we don't necessarily have the answers for. And we're going to move on to the next big topic. And again, this is the next one is, and I said this on Twitter, I'll say it live on the air. Either I'm going to be so right or I'm going to be so wrong that I'm going to fall on this sword with this next story because it's complete speculation, but I'm going to go with it anyway because I have confidence. I have confidence in my deduction. But let me just catch up on some of the Super Chats as we close in on nearly 500 folks hanging out with us. That is pretty freaking amazing. Awesome. Our very good friend, Elemental PO, very generous friend of the show. He drops a $2 super chat, day one with Boom, and an explosion and great start. Yes, well, thanks so much for being here, dude. More importantly, thank you for your generosity. We have quite a few others. JD Gamer, one of the very generous donors for Double Barrel Gaming. He drops an extremely kind $20 super chat and says, great show. I'll have to catch the rest on replay, but I wanted to drop some support. Well, thank you as always. Lousy Painter drops another super chat. Well, thank you for your generosity of $4. He says, who needs mooch when we get the middle-aged gamer? MAG. Listen, the middle-aged gamer, man, I think you're going to become a fan favorite, my brother. So
all right, thank you.
Get ready for more invites, my friend. Okay, so we have another JD Gamer before he gets on out of. He drops another $5 super chat. He says, "Oh, hit that like button, folks. It gets these guys over 300 likes." Yeah, I would love to. And you know something? I'll say this. You know, when you do a YouTube channel, it eventually becomes a business, right? That's what happens when you have an audience that you have a responsibility to. And that's how I feel. I have a responsibility to make sure that my content is well researched and well spoken about and to get quality people to be on the show. So that's really what it comes down to. And one of the things I have to say that I'm very proud is when you look at my percentages, this channel is sitting over 93% in likes as opposed to dislikes. Dislikes is like 6.35%, which is freaking bananas. That is fantastic. So yes, the likes do happen. Oh, we got a new channel member. Thank you, dude. It's Dark Phantasm becomes a channel member today. Well, thank you for that, dude. That is ultra awesome of you. I'm glad that you are enjoying the content enough to become a channel member. And we have Noob Sabat. JP45 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Spider-Man is what it is because it's a PS4 game locked behind a PlayStation 5 PS wall. And you know something? I think he's right about that. And D-Rob is here, drops a very generous $5 super chat. Hey, D-Rob, thanks for hanging out. And, of course, your generosity is I believe Xbox brand will be back to the 360 era, expanding even further with xCloud and the backbone of first-party studios pumping out 2 AAA and 2 AA games a year. And you know what? From your mouth to the gaming God's ears. But you know what? What I want to do is this, folks. something happened late Sunday that I can't officially talk about. But I'm going to kind of bait the hook, so to speak. And I can say this. What happened is the biggest thing to ever happen to my YouTube channel. Like literally, you might have heard me say, oh, I crossed 2,000 subs, 3,000 subs. Now I'm getting close to 5,000. What has transpired is the biggest thing to happen to this channel. It involves Xbox. And I can tell you the date on when I can talk about it. Tune into my channel, not to tune into to Twitter for the advertisement. I will be able to publicly speak about it on Thursday, July 23rd. I can't say anything more than that. I can say that it is goosebump inducing, which I have from the tip of my toes to my head. It is big. It is exciting. It's nerve wracking, and I will be able to drop the advertisement for what exactly is going to happen on Thursday, June 23rd. Tune into my Twitter channel. First thing in the morning, you'll see the advertisement go up, and it is something unbelievably special. And that's all I can say. I don't want to give anything away, but I want to move on to the next topic. And again, I could be 1,000% right. And I could certainly be 1,000% wrong. Now, one of the biggest questions that still remains unanswered for this fall is when the new Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 are going to be able to not only be pre-ordered, but when we can actually pick up these consoles and these monster consoles and bring them home. And from Aaron Greenberg's tweet on which was on Friday regarding the July 23rd first party showcase, we have complete confirmation that the entire event will be in fact focused on games, and more games. There will be no studio acquisition announcements, no pre-order announcements, and certainly no release date announcements for the Xbox. Now, as a content creator who genuinely enjoys the time I spend with this outstanding community, I feel comfortable about putting myself out there and taking a risk, and that's exactly what I'm about to do right now. And with that said, by the lead of the title of the show, it says, I have proof that the Xbox Series X will be releasing before the PlayStation 5, and this is how I deducted my theory. Now, right after the Xbox Factor podcast, which airs 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shameless plug, I went to, I checked my email, my business emails, and something was dropped in there by Seagate Gaming, makers of the upcoming Seagate storage expansion card for the Xbox Series X. And in the email was a link to sign up for more information that would be sent to me in the coming months. And of course, I want to know everything about the memory card that will make the Xbox Series X a 2 terabyte console instead of 1. Now, there are two major takeaways from the advertisement that many have overlooked, and this is exactly where I crafted my theory. And I'm going to bring up that picture right now. I'm just going to change this right here so you guys can see it. Where is that picture? Where are you? Here we go. This is the email that I got. It says, learn more, Seagate storage expansion card for Series X coming autumn 2020. Now that was changed from fall. If you remember the earlier advertisement, fall, most people were thinking that was going to be somewhere around mid-November. So now we say to ourselves, well, just a second, Boom, what are you talking about? Is it really that big of a deal? Well, I believe it is, and here's why. Now I'm going to bring up the one thing is this. I'm actually going to read you the email first before I get into my deduction. It says, and this word for word for the email, it says Seagate storage expansion card for the Xbox Series X, created in partnership with the Xbox. This expansion card seamlessly replicates the experience of the Xbox Series X internal storage, increasing the capacity while maintaining its full speed and power. Coming autumn 2020. Now, look, folks, I'm not a rocket scientist by any stretch of the truth. I'm just a simple podcaster, but I like bringing the information. Hopefully, this will make sense. According to the U.S. Almanac, The autumn starts on September 22nd and runs through December 21st. And we've been hearing whispers in the dark corners of the interwebs that the Xbox Series X could in fact release in early October, and this just adds more fuel to this potential fire. Now, we do know for a fact that the Series X has been a part of the take-home project that Microsoft has since mid-December, and we did find out recently that the Series X went into full production in early April, and shortly after that we started hearing more about the Xbox Series S, aka Lockhart. Now, Jez Corden discussed on the Xbox 2 podcast that the Series S had become a part of that take-home program a couple of months ago, and we have heard Phil Spencer say that they are ahead of schedule. Now, again, this is completely my deduction, and I'm wondering, based on what we've heard about Sony's machine, potentially we've heard November 17th being the day that Sony releases the PlayStation 5. My question to this chat, which is almost at 500 people, and my esteemed panel is, can we reasonably suggest that the Xbox Series X and S could potentially beat Sony's PlayStation 5 to the punch by over a month, and potentially release in early October? A middle-aged gaming guy, I want to go to you because I know you've been chomping at the bit to talk about this. Am I a lunatic, or is there enough evidence to suggest an early release and have Microsoft beat Sony to the punch?
Well, I remember you messaged me just a few days ago and you said, I may not be the world's greatest detective, but then I stopped for a second. I thought, wait a second. I haven't seen Boom and Batman in the same room at the same time. So there's a possibility that you could be him. So let's just, anyhow, all joking aside, I got to say this. I know you said it a million times before. Let's all take a stroll down speculation street for a second here. I believe that their original plan, now this is just me, okay? I think that they were going to release on September 17th when Cyberpunk was supposed to release. I mean, after their first, well, there are many delays, but they were going to release on the 17th. I think that Microsoft had plans to release with that. And that was enough. And you know what I mean? And they had the big marketing deal with them. They still do, of course. Well, that's gone by the wayside. We all know why. The world is a little bit, upside down right now. That's fine. Now, why would you do this? You get the mind share and you get the jump on a very shaky-legged Sony right now. Now, Don't get me wrong, chat and everybody else, please. I love Sony games. I love them. I've been playing almost exclusively Sony since April, catching up on a lot of great games, having a great time. But they've lost that general swagger that they've had. That whole last gen swagger. They seem to be looking at each other going, I don't know what to say. What are you going to say? Are you going to say something? I'm not going to, that's how they feel like to me. They see so unsure of themselves. And Killer Phil wouldn't hesitate to release a new console. Now, here's the thing. You remember a little while ago in an interview, he kind of, how Phil, he kind of slips little things into his conversation.
Every now and again, he does.
Right. And I love the way he does it. It's almost like a magician doing sleight of hand. He just casually mentioned, he said, well, if Halo's not quite ready, we'll still release the console. So he's willing to release the console early. He openly said he would be willing to release the console early, even if the big flagship Halo was not ready. So there is a distinct possibility that they could release early. Now, the other thing, though, that kind of pulls me a little bit back from that is that there's, that there are two big marketing deals this fall is going to be Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the 17th, which is lunacy because it's 2 days before Cyberpunk, which Microsoft also has the marketing deal. So maybe, if you wanted to look at the other side of the coin, maybe there's a possibility that Phil would be like, you know what? Maybe if we release it a little closer to those games, we can bolster that, the beginning of the gen sort of console launch of games. And then you've got, okay, we've got this, and this exclusive, but, Valhalla and Cyberpunk will look and play best on our system. So you could almost count that as an exclusive, so to speak. Or the fact that if you went with Xbox, the big flagship console exclusives will be in Game Pass. So you're not paying, $60 to $80 per game. The only ones you'd have to pay for would be Valhalla and Cyberpunk. Right now, think about the 360 generation, the 360 PS3 generation. Maybe they're going to try and mimic that. You see, now I'm going to flip this. I'm going to flip the coin down the other side and go back to the early releases. What you're talking about, Boom? You remember the 360 era when they released that? Do you think that any true gamer worth their salt was going to wait an entire year for the PS3? No. They're going to want the best right away because that's what we always want the bigger and the better right away. You're not going to wait a whole year. Say, I'm good. I'm just going to sit over here in the corner, play an old system. No, we're hardcore. We want the bigger and the better and the best right now. So they weren't going to do that. Now, Microsoft has a challenge. They don't have a whole year. But what they're going to have, let's say they do, and let's say they do what Boom is saying they're going to do. Let's say they get, 6 weeks to 8 week window before Sony drops. Now they're going to have to do this in a much smaller window. So how do you do this and how do you do it? You're going to have to give major incentive to win over those hungry gamers. And this all ties into what, folks? This Thursday afternoon.
Yes.
The big show. They have to crush it like nobody's business, because if they don't, then that window of opportunity that they have will be lost. And they cannot do it. And I think they know how important this is. So if that's their game plan, I'm actually on board with Boom on this. I'm going to say they're going to go early, but they're going to absolutely, Phil, I know you're listening to this right now. You better crush this show.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that.
I mean, listen, they're going to crush it because, I'll put it to this way. And again, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasting because there's many people that I've worked with in this community that I'm big fans of their show. Randall Thor is one of those people. I like him and Jez Corden. They have a great dynamic. I mean, his numbers are exploding. I think he had 1,500 people the other day, and his show got off the rails for about 30 minutes. Randall Thor held his own because Discord went down, which is why I use StreamYards and I don't use OBS anymore. And because OBS is shit, and so is Discord. But obviously he held his own, and Jez has said publicly that he knows about 10% of the show. And he's a journalist, and he's a journalist with the insight that he knows quite a few people. And he said exclusively on that show that with only 10%, he is out of his mind excited. Like, he is amped for the show, no tempering expectations. And I'm sure that, of course, because they're partners and good friends, that Randall Thor knows that information. So there's a lot to really get excited about. But you know what, Crispy Bomb, look, again, I could be really wrong. But, I got this email, and I thought because if you remember the original wording, when the original advertisement came out, it said holiday 2020. Now they're being more specific, and they're saying, obviously, autumn, which I thought was a little weird. I thought, that's weird. Why not just say holiday? And I think they might have made a boo-boo here. I mean, did I put enough breadcrumbs down to lure you to follow to my potential theory?
I'll be honest. When you showed this, I said autumn. I was like, they usually would say holiday, which really is a period of time, like within a month. Like autumn's like this bigger thing, which most people consider autumn, even despite of the almanac being around between September, October, and early November. And I'm like, man, you might have some clout here. I will say this. The only thing that I would be thinking is that maybe Seagate has some kind of early release, some little incentive, maybe, you know what I mean, before the console comes out. Because I mean, the partnership that Seagate has with Microsoft is pretty incredible. I mean, some of these custom little, outer drives are just incredible looking. And, Seagate clearly doubled down and said, like, Xbox supports us. we're going to make this happen. I'm more intrigued with the fact that, potentially I'm thinking, I don't think they go over $100 for this thing.
I said 89 from the beginning, dude. I really did. I really sunk my teeth into that, and I'm still holding strong that it's going to be $89.99. Again, I could be 1,000% wrong, but that's what I'm staying with.
Yeah, and that's my point. Like, potentially being no more than $100 for a whole terabyte when I was buying like 30 megabit storage cards back in my childhood. You know what I mean? It's something incredible because, I had the Xbox One S Gears 4 edition with the 2 terabyte. I couldn't fill that for the life of me. This one's getting filled quick, with the 1 terabyte. But I feel like it's the perfect amount of storage and their compression techniques and everything else. I feel that Seagate probably knows something we don't know. Just saying, So in the end, this is intriguing because I do believe Xbox saw the success they had when they released the 360 to be a little bit further along, which we pretty much confirmed that they've been a little bit further along because they've been taking home the consoles in December of last year. So, are they ready to launch in an October setting? That would be pretty special because we're used to November. So that would be a area of time where you could really grab a lot of people that just want to play the newest and best thing, and that's a huge thing.
Yeah, listen, if they were able to sneak a 5 or 6 week window over Sony and at the same time drop a Series S that's maybe $250, $300, it would sell like hotcakes. And people would want to get ahead of and again, we got to remember this also, folks. You have to look at the world the way it is. The world right now is in financial crisis. COVID is not going away. In fact, in this country, it's completely, except for New York and a few other states, completely exploded on the scene. And people are, things are not opening up. People just will not have the money. What Microsoft has going for them that Sony doesn't, and I'm not talking about games or power or, market share now or whatever. I'm talking about the Xbox All Access program, which is going to launch in many, many other countries along with the system. We've got to remember, this isn't just releasing in the UK, Mexico, Argentina, and the United States. They're looking to do an entire worldwide launch, unlike what they did with the Xbox One. And that program is going to come in tow to all of these countries. And that's why they're partnering with Best Buys and Amazon's and the Microsoft Store, which is closing, but digitally it's still open. So they're partnering with all these big companies that are all over the world. So they are going to position themselves not only potentially beating Sony in power, but they could potentially beat them on price and also beat them to the release. And man, that is how you start a generation. But anything else you'd like to add, Chris, before I move on to the next panel member?
I completely agree, and I might be using All Access myself because
I think a lot of people are, dude. Because if you're told, well, I mean, one of the advantages that Microsoft is they want you to buy the box, but if you don't have the $500 for the box, they're going to give it to you at maybe $35 a month, but you're getting 2 years of Ultimate Game Pass, which is now includes OPS, by the way, Project X Cloud and Xbox Live, which I still think is going to be free. That's a topic for another show. And I've been calling that for months. And for $35 a month, you're going to be able to get yourself a new console. But let's say, for instance, you did have the $500. This is another advantage for Microsoft. Every launch game that's first and second party is going to be in Game Pass. You don't have to buy any games. You're just bringing home your console. Whereas Sony, you have to buy everything.
It's a huge deal. I really truly believe that Game Pass is going to the day and date thing. Like, I mean, if Sony really wants to put their foot down, they need to do day and date. But are they willing to take that loss? I feel like their subscribers in PS Now would just skyrocket.
Oh, dude.
But at the same time, I feel like, maybe they have some kind of inkling that they make more money off of selling the individual IPs. And that's something that I just don't understand, because if you're constantly getting revenue, that's going to help your ecosystem. You know what you're getting, or at least for the most part, have a good idea of what you're going to get from each consumer. And most consumers now, with the greatness that Game Pass is, you would say would accept it and actually really love it and continue to subscribe. And that's something that Netflix has done for years. They give you a free month and they get you in, they rope you in, and they say, yep, here you go. And then, they've really bolstered their own shows and their own movies. And, you see movies that you really enjoy that are just on Netflix, and they might release it for like a week in the theaters, so they get the awards and everything else. But other than that, they're really just about themselves. And I feel like Xbox is really about themselves, but at the same time giving us quality content and giving us quality content in a subscription-based service is not a bad thing. I don't know why people hate it.
It's a good question. I don't understand it. I think that what you're asking the question, I think no one can actually answer it, because if you have a problem with it, you got to ask yourself why. It's listen, we can chase this tail all night, but I want to continue with the topic at hand. I want to go to Tempest Sun next on this. Tempest, listen. My deduction skills, I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, but the source material is the source material. Now you can turn it and say, well, boom, maybe it's coming out in December and they're going to miss the mark. And I could say, well, you have a point there. But we've also heard an early October release 4 months. We've heard this on Reddit. We've heard this on 4chans. We've heard this on other podcasts. Now, is it a lock-in date? No. But this is another piece to the puzzle that makes me think that, yes, Microsoft wants to beat Sony because they're beating them right now. They got them on power, right? They got them on power. They got them on services. Sony doesn't have Game Pass. They don't have Project X Cloud. They got them on price potentially, and they also have them on allowing a consumer who may not be able to afford the system a way that they can. All things that Sony doesn't have. All they need is a release window ahead of them. Do you think there's any relevance to what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I tell you what, gamers are impatient and rather, yeah, if you were on, especially for those gamers that were kind of on the fence and don't know what they want, if they can come out even as much as like 2 to 3 weeks earlier than the PS5, some people just be like, no, that's out now and I want it, especially if it's at a good price, so the earlier they can get that out, it's just going to really make a difference, I feel, especially if you throw stuff like the full access program in there. If you can just make it easier for these people to get their hands on it, they're going to be all over it. They really will. I think your deductive reasoning here is spot on. I think it's very, very, very good logic to look at it like you are because of the ad there. I mean, it does make sense. And I absolutely hope you're right, because that just means we get to get our hands on it quicker.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Also, I think Phil took this thing home in November of last year?
November.
Yeah, man.
November. And there was leaked screenshots of it. And I think it was like the end of January or the very beginning of February. There was those leaked screenshots of it being on like a dirty carpet. So who the heck knows had their hands on it then. So Digital Foundry and Austin Evans had to film their video, I think, weeks ahead of when they finally got to talk to it, because they filmed that before the whole pandemic thing went crazy. So and they made a version where they put magnets on it. They let them take the thing apart and put it back together again. I've never seen a company be so, forthcoming about how they put their console together. They are so proud of their engineering. It's ridiculous.
It's
this was months ago. Now, there might be some like actual facts that we can find somewhere that says maybe they just started full production maybe, but I don't really think so. For months now, Phil, if there's one thing he's been sure of, it was like, no, we're still on schedule. Who knows how many of these things they already have built? I mean, if they have millions of them built already, who knows when they can drop it? They're not going to drop it too much earlier, but like my personal opinion is I feel like probably like mid to late October. I feel like that's my like little prediction, and I don't think that's too far off base. I mean, if it's ready, I think the only thing maybe holding them back is they might want to release it along with other titles, and maybe Halo Infinite is like close to being ready, but not right then and there. They're pretty adamant about this launching with Halo, so depending on how that game is doing, might be when they launch the console.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're gonna see Halo running in full glorious Xbox Series X this Thursday. They've already confirmed, and I think we're going to get about a good 8 to 10 minutes of it. We're actually going to see the campaign, and I think listen, folks, it is a good time to be a gamer, especially if you are a supporter of multiple consoles, because there's a lot to look forward to. But if you are an Xbox gamer, this is the show that we've all been waiting for, and Thursday is going to be freaking bananas. I feel like I'm not going to sleep the night before. Like, we know when you were a kid and Christmas morning is right there, and you know that your mama got you that the N64, and you can tell by the box, but you just don't know for sure until you open it up. That is the kind of feeling I think we're all going to get, and I'm very excited. So let's bring Cybernox. Listen, there is not a lot to go on, but again, we just have to go with the information that has been put out there by the folks that we know as the gaming public. We've heard for a while that November seemed locked for the PlayStation 5, and I think they're confident in that they're going to release in November. What we didn't know is when Microsoft, is it going to be a week before? I don't know. That doesn't really do anything. But if it's a 5-week or 6-week gap between Series X and S versus PlayStation 5 in November, well, now you might be putting Sony's toes to the fire a little bit. What do you think about my deduction? Am I unbelievably wrong, or could I be potentially correct?
Oh man, I think it would benefit Xbox so much to launch before the PlayStation console, just because not only will you be able to get into gamers' hands first, but the word of mouth of what what your console is actually doing, and people getting their hands on, and the excitement level and things like that. Oh man, it would be tremendous for the console itself and the company. Man, at this point in time, I still think it's going to be a November launch.
Okay.
Just because I think
no,
I know, man. I trust me. If this thing comes in October, I'm all for it. Like, please, the sooner I can get a Series X, I want one. But just because I think they want to launch it with Halo, I think they're going to do something special with Halo. People were speculating online too that the 117 could be a day for November 7th.
Yeah,
so
that's interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, man, it'll be tremendous if they can do it. I'm not gonna stay too much on this topic, but because I pretty much agree with what everyone said, but it would benefit Xbox so much if they can, just those few weeks and actually gamers playing on this console and talking to their friends. Obviously, everybody's gonna share their uploads and footage and everything that they can online, and then that can potentially bring in new customers, can potentially bring in people that are on the fence, can potentially bring in PlayStation fans who are only thinking about getting a PS5. So oh yeah, man, that would be amazing. And just one more thing, I think that the SSD is going to be 150. Sorry,
Okay,
bro.
I mean, listen, that I can see 150. I absolutely can, but my brain would love to see, of
Oh,
course,
for sure. 100 will be
79.
like the icing on the cake. It'll be
Yeah, even if
that
it's
would be a
100
good
bucks,
price.
it would be fantastic. You know what? I want. This has been a great topic. Again, speculation town, folks. Sometimes it's nice just to walk down because even when you're wrong, they really can't blame you because you said we were hanging out in speculation town. But let me just catch up on some of the super chats and see if I could find them. Okay. Before we move on to the next topic, and this is a good one. This one is exciting because we're talking about the Master Chief, and I want to get into that. But let me just catch up on some of the super chats. First of all, we have Lanzo86 drops a very generous $5 suggests it would be criminal if Microsoft does release a limited edition Cyberpunk Series X. It would sell like crack. I think. Listen. I'm almost positive that we're getting a Halo for sure, but man, it would be kind of dope to have multiples. Man, that would kind of make me want. I'm definitely getting a Halo, but Cyberpunk would look dope. And you've seen some of the mock designs from Xbox Pope, who should be hired, by the way, by Microsoft. Anyone from Microsoft listening, hire this man, please. Let him design your consoles because, my God, he's amazing. Keith J. First of all, Keith, thank you for being here. He drops a $5 super chat and says, "Hey guys, will there be at least a 4 terabyte Xbox SSD soon?" Man, I don't know. A 4 terabyte. I mean, I can see them potentially releasing a 2 terabyte with the expandable storage, making it 3. I don't necessarily if they would want to put a 4. That would raise costs considerably. The next super chat comes in from Resident Link Gaming. Oh, I hope that's that first part of your name. It has to do with Resident Evil. I like it. He drops a $5 super chat, says, "Boom. Could there be a possibility that the Halo Infinite will drop a release date on the 23rd during the showcase, giving us a date for the Series X?" That's a really good question. And you know something, man, that would be something. I don't know if we're going to get a release date for Halo. I think Microsoft, and they're saying they're doing really good work with it. I think that they're much further than they originally thought. So I don't think they would pigeonhole them into a release date, but I think we're definitely going to get to see the game. And if the game looks as good as what I'm hearing it looks like, we're going to know that it's close to being done. A good friend of the show, Bounty Boom, drops a very generous $5 of chance that if xCloud is on the new Xbox, can you just immediately stream your games? Why would I need a lot more memory? That is a fantastic point. You know what? We're hearing that xCloud. Well, listen, the one thing we know for sure is right now, xCloud, their server racks are packed with the Xbox One S. And we have confirmation from Phil Spencer himself that in 2021, all of those server racks are going to be replaced by Xbox Series X chipsets. So you're literally going to be able to play what you're playing on your console. Now, I don't know if that involves over streaming. Do you lose ray tracing? What you lose? You're going to lose something that you're going to want to play on the actual console, which is, of course, the Series X.
Because you're still dependent on your on whatever speed,
bandwidth and everything.
Bandwidth and everything. Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it, but it's an interesting theory. Viper XT drops a very generous and an additional super chat for $10. Thank you for that, dude. He says, "I wonder if Sony have heard that the Series X may launch in October, and that's the real reason they've increased production to possibly move their date earlier as well." Well, that is a great theory as well. But you know what? Who the heck knows? But let's move on to the next topic. Again, a smaller topic, but a Halo topic nonetheless. Now, one of the biggest games to be released alongside some of gaming's unbelievable AAA behemoths like The Last of Us 2, Ghosts of Tsushima, Cyberpunk 2077, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla is 343's Halo Infinite. And on Tuesday's bonus episode of Double Barrel Gaming Presents, we discussed the importance of Halo to both the industry and the Xbox platform. And though we're not going to cover that again, I thought we were going to change it up a bit and discussed the potential of Halo Infinite being very different than previous entries in the long-running franchise that saw its first game debut on the OG Xbox on November 15th of 2001. Now, next year, Master Chief in Earth years will be 20 years old, but we know that John 117 is much older than that. Now, wouldn't it be incredible for Master Chief to have an outstanding, triumphant return to start celebrations in 2021 with an incredible 90-plus meta release for the Series X and the return of the Master Chief? And the answer is, you're goddamn right it would. So, on to the topic at hand. 343 somehow has basically kept everything secret, and outside of a few 4chan posts, we really don't know much. But in truth, it's both frustrating and at the same time exciting, because do we really want to know? No, I kind of want to be surprised. But I'll say this, when the Coalition was developing Gears 5, they brought back many of the familiar Gears of War traits. And, and we've come to expect with a Gears release. Again, Duck and Connor, chainsaw people, roadie runs, things of that nature. What is really the bread and butter of Gears and its franchise. But, of course, they did a lot of never-before things. Which for me made Gears 5 a solid 9.5 out of 10, folks. That's just my opinion. You can challenge it, but if you want to hear my review on it, where it was one of the longest videos I've ever done, just go to my channel and you'll hear it. It's very well produced, and there's a lot of information as to why I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. But here's my question to the panel, and more importantly to the chat. If we have over 500 people watching, I'm interested to know this question. Now, obviously, there's not been a lot shown of 343's next Halo title, but what we have seen has suggested that Halo Infinite will receive many new aspects to the franchise that will turn 20 next year. In my opinion, that is a good thing, though I am interested to know how different can 343 take the Halo franchise without making an entirely different experience? And my second question to the community and this chat and the incredible panel that I have is, can Halo Infinite survive as an open world Halo title? And I want to go to middle-aged gamer guy. And obviously, these are two big questions. How different can Halo be before you get yourself upset and say, this is not my Halo? And if it is open world, like I think it's going to be, can it survive as an open world Halo game?
Oh boy. Well, you guys better strap in, because I got a lot to say on this. This one I got a lot to say on. Now, let's break this down bit by bit. First things first, let's get the basics out of the way. It will remain a first-person shooter. Okay, yeah. Fairly obvious. Let's go with that one first. Second thing, weapon mechanics, weapon pickups, I think they will remain exactly the same. Like, for example, Chief will have only about 2 clips. Take out 1 or 2, 3 guys, whatever. You run over, you grab their weapons, you keep going on and on and on and on. I think that's where it's going to stay the same. In terms of similarity, bold statement, folks, that's where it's going to end. I have a feeling that's exactly where it's going to end. I think that Halo Infinite, and this is just me, I think that Halo Infinite is going to be a loose first-person shooter RPG. Okay, let me let that. I
like to paint the picture you're painting, sir.
Okay. Oh, it's just getting started. Let me just get into this now. I'm not sure if Chief is going to have a number or a level up or that any kind of system like that. Now, I think this is going to upset the hardcore. I'll tell you right now, Xbot 448 just had a conniption somewhere listening to this. But you know what? You can't. This is where it's going to get a little controversial. You can't make this game for the hardcore. Okay, right. Let me just let that sit in the air for a second. You notice how it's not called Halo 6? Mm-hmm. They have to make this game for a wider audience. Like I said, it's very controversial, and I'm saying this, but I'm saying they have to make this for a wider audience. Start new with ties to the old, a la God of War.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Gears 5, Crispy, please don't be upset. It was an outstanding game. I absolutely adored it. I loved it. I loved the campaign. I even messed around with Noof Nukem a lot of nights and Primal Leaf here and there on the multiplayer. Great time. But did that game set the world on fire? No.
Nope.
No, it didn't. It did not set the world on fire. Does everybody realize in this chat and in this panel right now, do you realize how important this game actually is? This is not, you know what I'm saying, Boom? This is not a sequel. This is launching an entire generation. The entire weight of this generation is sitting on 343's shoulders.
100%.
You see what I'm saying? Now, here's the other thing. Back to the hardcore situation. Yeah, you're going to upset a lot of people, but you can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs. Okay, so now here's where it's going to get even crazier. Let's go further down this rabbit hole right now. I think Halo Infinite is going to be a 10-year game.
I agree.
Yep. Okay, what I think this is going to be. Okay, how about I ask this question? What is the finest form of flattery? Imitation.
Yes.
I think 343 Studios is going to go the Bungie Destiny route.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Okay. You hear me right now? Isn't it called Halo Infinite?
Yes.
Halo Infinite means what? It means forever. You ever take finite in class? That means that, you get an answer. But infinite means forever. So let's go down this road. The base game, my God, it's got to be magnificent. It has to be magnificent because you cannot build a house without a solid foundation. Now, let's just say this. Okay, let's say the base game is unbelievable. And now what they start doing, let's be generous. Let's say 6 months to a year. They start releasing expansion passes. Okay, one by one, just like Destiny. You keep building and building and building like a Sea of Thieves kind of vibe. All right. And okay, let's say they come to the first, I don't know. Let's say they come to the first expansion pass. Let me make up a name here. The Crowns of Cortana. Okay, that'll be the first expansion pass. All right. And they advertise that the first expansion for Halo Infinite, the Crowns of Cortana, is coming $19.99. However, if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, every expansion pass is free of charge. Now, what does that do? The people who are hooked on the game, it keeps them paying. It keeps them paying for Game Pass. And what does that do? It increases and drives further engagement, which is exactly what Microsoft wants. Now, think about this. 2 years ago, I think it was, Phil Spencer was on CNBC, and they were asking him about Game Pass because I believe it was just fledgling at that point or just coming out. Okay, I can't remember exactly the date, but I remember watching that. And you know what he said? He said, once again, with that little comment, he goes, I'm really interested in the future talking about episodic content that keeps players engaged on a monthly or bi-yearly basis or bi-monthly basis, that kind of thing. So he just kind of dropped that. What if this is that game that he was talking about all those years ago? Now, the thing is, they knew they were making Halo Infinite 2 years ago. He knew it. He probably already saw it. Right. So maybe this is what he was doing. So anyways, that's my thoughts on that side. Now here's another interesting thing. Now this might just be crazy, but the slip space engine, you notice how nobody's talking about it?
Yeah.
Microsoft. Nobody. Microsoft Game Studios aren't talking about it. They're all talking about Unreal 5. Now my question is, why would you make an engine and a development of a game that costs $500 million if you're going to make it for a 15 to 30 hour campaign plus multiplayer and just call it a day? I'm sorry, Boom. This doesn't make sense to me.
I agree 100%.
Okay. You know what does make sense? Spending $500 million on an exclusive engine and game if you're building a World of Warcraft style universe in the Halo universe. It's going to become its own entity. I think that Phil the Thrill has got lofty goals and ambitions for this game. Okay, now think about this. Think about the financial returns over a 10-year period. That would make that $500 million investment worthwhile. Just like when they bought Mojang, however you want to pronounce it, with Minecraft. Okay, this is $500 million. It's done in-house. The returns over a 10-year period with Game Pass subscriptions and everything else would absolutely be astronomical. Which opens up another angle. I told you I was going deep here. Okay, the other angle here is xCloud. Now, if with the possibility that they stick the landing with this game, this game could become a worldwide phenomenon with Game Pass. Imagine you're sitting on the train going to work or whatever, and you're leveling up Chief or whatever character you're using, or you're sitting on your break at work and you're messing around. You're like, oh man, the other guys are, level so-and-so. I got to get up there. I got half an hour. I can sneak on there. That opens up a whole new ball of wax. Now your buddy, your coworker's looking, going, hey, what are you playing over there? Oh, I'm playing that Halo Infinite. Don't you have it? I don't have an Xbox. Funny you say that. You don't need one. and then get the xCloud thing or whatever.
Mhm.
Those are my thoughts there. Now, in terms of your second part of the question, open world, I do not think it's going to be a Witcher 3 style. I do not think it's going to be.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I do not think it's going to be a Borderlands style. However, I think it may be similar to there's 3 options I got here. Last of Us 2, semi-open world sort of idea. Which this one is ironic because they carry the same name. You remember Call of Duty Infinite Warfare?
Yes.
Do you remember how that game was? First of all, I love that campaign. I don't know why people hated on that game so much. I thought it was great. You remember like where you could pick the missions a la Mass Effect style? You saw all the different planets and then you can just kind of fly to a different planet.
Yep.
And then once you got into the mission itself, it became a more linear experience, which is what Halo players are used to doing.
Like
right? I think that you see what I'm saying? So like that's an idea. That's another idea. Now, of course, this is all just speculation. Okay. So those are my thoughts. I think it may be like an Infinite Warfare / Mass Effect Light / Last of Us 2 open world, and maybe a little bit more involving than Gears 5. I think that they heard the fans that Gears 5's semi-open world wasn't open enough.
They want more. Yes.
They want more. And I think that with a game this big and putting $500 million into it, I think they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink in there. Now, however, this is all just speculation because you know what? I got to give it to them. Microsoft, Xbox 343 has done an incredible job of keeping this quiet. So, until they say something this Thursday, we shall see.
Yeah, well, first of all, your deduction on this particular topic was nothing short of monumental. You definitely opened my eyes, and a lot of people in the chat are really digging what you're selling.
Oh, thank you.
Let's bring Cybernox in, but Cybernox, before I do, let me just catch up on some of the chats before I lose them. Eagles fan 76. Hey, dude, thanks so much for hanging out. He drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Bring Peter Monaloo into the." Into the intro or approval of Fable. Yeah, I don't know if they would do that, dude. I think because, again, I like Peter. I think Peter's a good dude. I like the way he talks, and he's very passionate. He's still very passionate, but this new Fable needs to be its own thing. It's got to run its own thing. And honestly, I know I'm gonna get booed for this off my own show. I don't want it to be like the old Halo. I'm sorry. I mean, the old Halo, the old Fable. I want it to be. I'm not saying Witcher Fable. I'm saying that it needs to be its own identity. It needs to be more mature. You want to throw a fart joke? You want to kick a chicken? Sure, I hear you. But it just cannot be the same thing. I'm sorry. I want better, and I hope that's the route that they're going to take. Viper XT chirps another outstanding $5 chat and says, check out Summer Game Fest demos on Xbox. Games available now in the store demo section. Remember, some of them are very early. Yes, there's going to be anywhere between 50 and 100 of them, which is great. Lousy Painter, hey, thanks again. Drops another $5 chat. I think Boom and MAG, Middle Age Gamer, thank you for that, need to launch to do a lunch show. Screw the breakfast show. Thank you for that, dude. Definitely appreciate it. Nightwolf 3186 drops an outstanding $5 who just says, Boom, great show, bud. Great panel. Also, great job hiring Mooch 2.0. Just kidding. Energy and theories. I had a similar RPG vibe for Halo as well. I think a lot of people did. And Mariano Pampa, hey, dude, thanks for hanging out. He drops a very generous $2 super chat. Says, game guy, you're talking crazy, and I like it. I think a lot of people like it. Bounty Boom drops another $2 super chat and says, wow, I was thinking the same thing. See, a lot of people want their Halo and their Master Chief to return, but they kind of want a little bit of a different flavor in there, and I agree with you and them. So Cybernox, look, for you personally, how different can this Halo be without really rubbing the fan base the wrong way? And more importantly, can it survive if it's semi-open world?
I believe so. And I think middle-aged gamer guy hit the nail on the head. Halo needs to evolve, right? It needs to adapt to today's time. It can't be just what it was before. I think being a semi-open world is exactly what it needs. I think it needs to have a very strong campaign because people go to Halo, believe it or not just for the multiplayer, but also for the single player experience. People love it.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the one game, Cyber, that people really go towards the single player campaign for.
Oh, for sure. People love that, and I think what they need to do, or potentially what they're doing, is exactly that: opening up the world, letting you explore the Halo rings. Right? Can you imagine? And then, can you imagine if you can actually go to the multiple rings, and that'll be like Destiny effect, or any other game where you can, I didn't play Infinite Warfare, so I can't really comment on that. But Destiny, you have your planets, and you go to those planets, and those planets feel open world. But then you do a dungeon, you do something here, you do something there that feel more linear. So they need to do that, and I think they need to grab a newer audience. And how do you do that? Exactly that. You give them something to do after the campaign. You keep that world alive. You add expansions, you add raids, you add more, you add new content, most importantly. And you also, in my opinion, you need to give characters their own character. People love playing as the chief, but people love playing as the chief in the campaign. So why not have you become a Spartan? You actually have a creator. You create your own Spartan at the end of that campaign. Or if you just want to explore that world, it's a mode that opens up after you beat the campaign. Or
We're talking about language, Cyber. Just saying.
Exactly. Or if it's if you don't want to play the campaign, you're gonna get spoiled if you go into this mode. And you create your Spartan, and now you and a group of other Spartans, right, are in charge of fixing or doing or keeping this Halo ring safe. And to do that, you have to go on these missions, and you have to take over these countries, whatever it is, the content that they want to put. Oh, 100%. And there are a number of Halo rings out there in that universe, so that you can potentially just keep going and bring in new content, expansion passes, and you connect the campaign to whatever's going on in that world. Destiny is a prime example of that. The story keeps evolving, but people go there because first and foremost they need to nail down the game mechanics. The shooting has to be on point, the driving, everything needs to be on point. And they've done that because Halo's 5 multiplayer was fantastic. You can't deny that. But they need a new generation of gamers, and they need to include the hardcore going into this Halo. And I think, just like a middle-aged gamer guy said, this is Halo Infinite. This is a long-term plan that they have set up for Halo, and I can't wait to see it on Thursday, man.
Oh yeah, I think everyone is, for sure. No, I don't think there's going to be a person that's sitting at the edge of their seat and really way to knock it out of the park there, Cyber. I like your thinking. I like the 10-year perspective. I love the idea of making a single player. And again, no one's saying they want them to take Bungie and make it a Destiny clone. Nobody wants that done. But with one of the things that always bothered me about the Halo universe, and this is going back all the way to Bungie, is that the world was always made to seem a little bit smaller than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
It is a game that has universes with an S at the end of it. And it's a lore that has universes, that has other subspecies outside of the Banished, outside of the Flood, outside of the Elites. You know what I'm saying? And the Grunts. I would love to see them expand on that with expansions, the Crowns of Cortana. I'd like to see stuff like that because it would give us.
If I can just say one more thing, sure. They need to nail that loot mechanic, that looter shooter that's gonna keep their player base coming back, right? You've seen games do that all the time. People go, like on Destiny, people love that mechanic. Some people don't even go there for the story. Some people just go there because they want to get the new exotic that's coming, with whatever. They need to nail that gameplay. They need to nail that loot mechanic. That's gonna keep people coming back for it. I think that's gonna be. Hopefully, they have that under control too.
No, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Let's bring in a Tempest Sun, and we'll have Crispy Bomb give us his opinion towards the end of this about this particular topic. But Tempest, before I get to you, let me just thank Resident Link Gaming. Thank you for the additional final super chat. Says name is between my favorite game series, which I'm assuming is Resident Evil, and favorite game character. Yep, there it is, Resident Evil and Link from Zelda. Starting a YouTube channel, hoping to get it going. Well, listen, Resident Link, I'll tell you what. Number one, if you need help promoting your channel, hit me up in a DM. And if you have any questions on how to set that channel up, I'll be more than happy to give you what information I personally had. And I would suggest reaching out to the graphic god to do your banners and stuff. His prices are great, and he's done all my work. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to hit me up in the DM on Twitter. It's at Mr. BoomstickXL. More than happy to assist. But Tempest, obviously, Mag, we can call him now for short. And thanks to the chat, and of course,
I was gonna say that. I'm just saying.
There you go, Mag for the short. Had brought up a lot of great points for you. Can Halo survive as a different Halo, or will they just piss off the fan base?
No, it can survive, but to me, I think there's a couple things they might do with this game. But the most important thing to me, honestly, even more so than just is it open world? Does it have loot mechanics? Is it an RPG? Is it this? Is it that? It needs to be approachable for casual shooter fans, old school Halo fans. It needs to be approachable. But if it's going to last long term, there needs to be a depth there that you can sink your teeth into long term. I'm not going to sit there and say it's got to be anything like Titanfall or Titanfall 2, but that's like the perfect example I'm talking about. Something where you can play that game and enjoy it right off the bat. It feels great. But you could sit there for literally months and keep finding new depth in it. You can maybe do that just the gameplay mechanics themselves. You can add in things like this armor makes me do this gun is like this, things like that. I just think gameplay wise, there's got to be enough there to keep you coming back. They can do that through really anything like added missions. If they take the Destiny approach, it doesn't mean it's going to be a looter shooter. But maybe they can just release story content every 2-3. Well, that might be asking for a lot, but like Destiny, what is it, like 2 expansions a year? 2 big expansions a year, something like that, to keep us coming back. As far as multiplayer goes, they can keep adding modes or just the sky's the limit, really. But I think they need to evolve. You know what I keep thinking of? Now, they were obviously doing things like this because they were falling down a mountain. But when I think of like an evolved gameplay scenario, I honestly think of the beginning of Halo 5. When they're running down that mountain, they're taking out guys like crazy, doing their crazy like dolphin dives into the ground, punching it. They're doing crazy stuff. Something that if you were to look at the extended Halo lore through the books, whatever, videos, comics, whatever, the Spartans are like superhuman bad A's, dude. They are amazing. And at the end of the day, when you really play Halo, you almost don't do any of the stuff a Spartan is actually capable of. So I just really want them to explore that. I want your Spartan to be above anything you could ever be as a grunt or a normal soldier. Secondly, Dealer Gaming. He teased us with something that he knows. He said something very similar to God, and I thought about this earlier today. It just hit me because I can't get Halo out of my mind. I'm so excited. I can't stand it. But I thought that what if this is the first Halo and it's an option, keyword option, people, option. What if you can play this game in the third person perspective?
Ooh.
People would hate it, but if it's an option,
if it's an option, it'll be, I think
people, I think it'd be crazy, especially if they do up the ante on some of the things that you could do as the Master Chief. Seeing it in the third person perspective, it would almost fill 2 roles. We'd get the phenomenal first person mode. And if it's a really good third person mode and it was designed for that, and you had great animations and whatever else, it almost gives you that adventure third person shooter feel. So it's almost like you could kill two birds with one stone.
Well, they're halfway there anyway, aren't they? Like, I mean, when you get into the vehicles and all that kind of stuff,
exactly.
you are
I love
it. Anyhow, you're halfway there. Why not? Finish it off
when you pick up the turrets.
I
love those sections because they look like they're animated very well. The camera's in the perfect place. I've always said it would be cool if I had the option to just play like that. It'd be amazing, especially if you're going to have gear customization. You're going to be able to just customize how you look, period. Third-person games resonate way more when there's customization involved because you can see your options. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I thought that would be cool if they did that. It'd be certainly different, like way different than anything we've seen. And if it is an option, hey, more power to you. Just play how you want to play, right? So those are my two things I thought of. The graphics, the sound, they're all going to be top notch. And from what we're understanding, it's going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. I think you're going to get 120 frames per second modes. We really don't know what the Slipspace engine is capable of. It might be a very, very graphically beautiful engine capable of a lot, and it might not be taxing. Some engines are more taxing than others, so they might be able to do all of these wonderful things and it really not take that much of a toll on the system. I'm not going to say 120 frames in all modes because that'd be crazy. That's too much. But like for multiplayer modes, especially where it really
dream big, dude. Dream big.
I like it. I can't imagine a scenario with campaign with all the vehicles and all that stuff and AI at 120 frames. That's too much. But
hashtag your dreams.
I know. But 120 at least on the arena multiplayer. I almost think that's like a guaranteed thing. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think that's guaranteed. So
no, I absolutely agree. And closing out the topic, closing out the show, as a matter of fact, because this has been a great show. 2 hours went flying by. Crispy Bomb, you obviously are going to have a lot to say about this because you play multiplayer. As a matter of fact, that is your, I guess, your claim to fame is that you enjoy playing multiplayer. You enjoy playing with people in this community, and Halo is exactly what it stands for. It stands for community. It stands for multiplayer. Now, granted, yes, the single player campaigns are important, and they have reigned supreme in many in many people's camps, especially mine specifically. I mean, I've always played multiplayer, not some of the newer ones. I was crazy into Halo 3. I mean, like lunacy into Halo 2 and 1. I mean, not 1 because I didn't play on PC, but 2. I mean, we used to have training sessions on 2. Big team battle, folks. I'm being serious. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And we would practice sniping and using every weapon. It was awesome. And I'm getting such a great vibe on what they're gonna bring. And I'm interested to know for you personally, how different can Master Chief's new adventure be, and can it survive as being potentially open world? Not saying that it's going to be like Destiny, but being somewhat Destiny-like, opening the door for this series to carry on many, many years forward.
Can I just give a salute to everybody on the panel right now, because my God, you took every point I could possibly make.
Sorry.
Mag, that's your name now. That's
all right.
Your nickname. So Mag, you had great speculation, as we like to call it. But in the end, I look at it, and because I am completely enveloped in the Gears universe, I can kind of throw this at you guys. The Gears is a complete and total experiment. Okay, you take a dev that was ready to roll, ready to go, and you add things that people weren't expecting. And I go back to Tempest saying, the third person Halo, that would be freaking incredible for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I'm a very, I like to see the character, especially with microtransactions, stuff like that. Like, don't you want to be able to see the character as you're moving through the universe? Makes total sense. I mean, really. And, the Infinite thing, I was always like, well, why didn't they just call it Halo 6? Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And they say Infinite, and I'm like, okay, well, I played probably one of the best DLCs of all time. That was on Gears 3. It was called Ram Shadow. It was absolutely incredible. One of the best DLCs, but it was very story driven. I feel like they're almost going to go towards this open world, but really keep you enveloped in the story.
Yes.
Even if it's through words, like just like, you know, a lot of the Gears campaigns have always been like talking to each other and really getting to know the characters.
Mhm.
And some of them have kind of fell apart, but most of them that we beloved, especially Gears 2, like you really loved those characters by the time you're done with that game. And I feel like that's something that, because Halo is such a multiplayer centric game, that, you know, you have those conversations as you're playing with multiple people. I think that would be a huge step in the right direction, because, you know, what PlayStation has is great, but at the same time, what I'm looking for is what Xbox has always had. But I'm looking for a little bit more. I'm looking for something out of the realm, like, oh, this just really intrigues me, or I want to continue to play this because of how they went about it. And it's so hard to do. It's so hard to keep the people that are already a part of the community. Halo 5 is alive and well. Gears 5 is alive and well. People can deny it. They can ignore it. I can find a match in like 30 seconds usually. So the multiplayer part of Xbox will always be there. And I feel like rather than, you know, throw one to the other, why not embrace the whole deal?
I like what you're talking, dude. Like, you know what? I think everyone's going to get an email from 343 to say we're all hired.
but embrace what you truly are. You know, say you can play with 4 people, but you're still going to have a somewhat linear aspect to it. It's gonna drive you to want to find out more, and that's something that a lot of games on PlayStation do, but you're by yourself. Imagine that with multiple people, and you're like, oh, what the fuck's about to happen? That's excuse my language. You know what I mean? But well, what the F's about to happen, dude? Like, what's going on here? And like, even in Gears 5, like, one person's playing as Kate and I'm playing as Dell, and they're experiencing a totally different thing than I'm experiencing. And I was like, he's bugging out, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What's going on? You know what I mean? But the only reason why I didn't say that is because I already experienced it. And I'm like, wait, but I'm sitting here playing as a separate player and experiencing a totally different thing. I didn't know that because I played, you know, by myself. And I'm like, wow, like, this is crazy. Like, I've never experienced that in gaming. And I'm like, you know, what better person than Master Chief? I mean, to really bring these elements involved and really understand that, you know, there's a huge story involved that I barely touched the surface. And with Game Pass and Master Chief Collection, you're gonna get people probably buying that or you know, downloading it and playing that because maybe that's the first time they ever touched it is Halo Infinite, and then they're like, what's going on with this? Why is this the way it is? And you know, being a human being, you want to find out. You want to understand what the heck's going on. And that's the beauty of why I love Xbox just saying, okay, you're going to be able to play your games in the next generation. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing because, like I said, I haven't scratched the surface on the whole. I beat Halo 3. That's the only one I've ever beat. You know what I mean? So maybe this will intrigue me more to find out more of the story, which most people haven't spoiled for me because they're not interested in doing that, which is also great.
Well, I mean, listen, I agree with what you're saying, and I love what you're putting down, folks. Listen, I'll say this: everyone had an incredible opinion on all 3 topics. We got to everything, which is great. Everyone spoke as long as they wanted. I thought it was a fantastic show from start to finish. We're a couple of minutes over 2 hours. Hopefully, most people are still hanging around. But before we get into the outros, let me just thank a couple of people. Elemental PO is here once again. He drops another $5 super chat and says the most important thing for Halo Infinite is to him is 2-player split screen co-op, which 343 has already confirmed it'll be back, and that's a big deal for a lot of people. Nightwolf 3186 drops another super chat of $5 and says, "Okay, have to say, boom." What a way to kick off this week before the awesome Xbox game showcase. Good. More to come. I can't wait. Well, thanks, dude. Super appreciate the compliment. More importantly, thank you for always supporting the channel. I definitely appreciate that. And I got a little bit of a surprise announcement that happened in real time while the show was going on. I'm happy to announce that middle-aged gamer guy, aka Mag, will be joining Primetime Gaming on a weekly basis. That is right. We talked.
Very nice.
Nice.
And he'll be joining our panel. It's an honor to have you. I got to tell you, dude, you trumped even me. After 3 episodes of Crossfire, Mooch, the Maniac Mooch, invited me onto the panel, and I have beat him to the punch because you only had one under your belt, and I think that you completely knocked it out of the park. And yes, for that, my friend, we have offered you the spot, which you have politely accepted, and he will be here each and every Monday evening to give us his ridiculous knowledge I think he has. But first of all, middle-aged game guy, welcome, congratulations.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's our absolute pleasure to have more talent come on. And do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you and potentially, talk with you through DM on Twitter, because you're going to be getting a lot of messages, I believe.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at the middle-aged game guy. That's with a GY. If there's any confusion, I'm the guy with the tattoos. You can't miss me. And of course, you can probably find me in the show notes as well. On Xbox, you can find me on all capitals, Deadmeat1, DEDMEAT1. And right now on the PS4, I'm actually using my son's account. I will be reactivating my account on the PS5. So yeah, that's where you can reach me for now. My DMs will always be open to anybody. I never block it. I won't lock anybody out or make it private. So anybody wants to talk to me, ask me any questions, by all means, at any time. And again, panel chat, you guys have been absolutely amazing tonight. Boom. And everybody else, thank you guys so much for this opportunity. I don't even know what to say. I just for once in my life, and I'm just super thrilled to become a part of this team. I just really appreciate it. Thank you guys for making my whole night, my whole month, my whole bloody 2020. So thank you guys so much.
Well, listen, dude, first of all, don't sell yourself short. You bring a lot to the table. You really killed it. This was your first time on the show. Heard you on Noof, had to have you on, reached out to you immediately. Think that you're the real deal, and I think that you're going to bring some serious value to a show already packed, I believe, with talent. I love what Clowns brings. I love what Cyber brings every week. I love the fact that Tempest Sun still gets embarrassed when I say that if you want to follow him, he'll shoot you in the face. And we also have Gaming Forte, which you'll meet, but Gaming Forte, everyone here brings something unique and fun to this program, and I think that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's a bunch of personalities hanging out with your friends, talking about games, giving opinions, even though they may not be the same opinion, but still doing it in a way that is forward thinking and thought provoking, and that's what we want to do. And I think that's what you're going to bring. So welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure to have you. And Crispy Bomb, obviously, Crispy, you guest here tonight, but you are part of several shows, I might add. You are also yourself very busy. Not only are you on Breakfast with Boom, which that has been a great addition to that small show, but you're also on the next podcast, and you also host every now and again the Retro Renegades with, of course, Jay. And why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, but more importantly, check out the shows that you're on.
Man, this was a great time. I really enjoyed everybody. Like, the chat was just flying off the handles, and I just loved it. Everybody was, for the most part, getting along, but, a shout out to those admins for, kind of getting rid of the naysayers or the people that would just want to crap on everything Xbox, which, we're used to at this point, being Xbox fans. But Mag, you impressed me tonight, so and I salute you. I give you the Iron Lord salute right there. Yeah, it's at Crispy Bomb on Twitter. You can find me. Oh my God. Well, let's go Retro Renegades tomorrow night, 7 p.m. You can find me Thursday night with Boom, and we're gonna be talking some wild stuff, I believe, from what I'm hearing. So it's gonna be interesting with that. And Breakfast with Boom Friday. Saturday I will be on Next Podcast, 7 p.m. And yeah, wherever else I show up at some point, because that's how I roll. I have a problem saying no, I guess.
Well, listen, it's great to have you on tonight's program. Looking forward to Thursday night's recap of the event that happens Thursday, which is the Xbox Game Studios first party showcase that's happening, obviously, I believe it's 12 p.m. our time. But there's a pre-show, folks, and listen, don't sleep on the Jeff Keighley pre-show. I'm hearing that there's going to be some serious stuff being dropped there as well. So don't just discount it because it's Jeff. I'm telling you, Aaron Greenberg has already said you don't want to miss it, and I agree with him. Mm-hmm. And of course, Crispy, it's great having you on this program. It's great having you on Breakfast with Boom, but it's going to be great to hear our excitement on Thursday evening, and I'm glad that you're going to be a part of that. And of course, Cybernox, dude, let me tell you something. You brought it 100% today. Really appreciate that you're here each and every Monday. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your growing YouTube channel.
Yeah, appreciate that, Boom. And Mag, all I gotta say is the gift that I sent on the private chat said it all. All right. What did I say? My gift was like, welcome to the team. I already knew. Yes. I foresaw this. All right.
Yeah, you did with a
welcome, man. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
It's gonna be great having you here. You guys know me every week. Cybernox, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or sometimes I'll be streaming. YouTube keeps getting more followers. That's because I'm finally putting out more content. Tempest has been, nice enough to come and do some reactions with me, him and Cotton. It's been amazing so far. But yeah, I had a blast today. I'm so hyped for this week and this show. Just got everything started, man. I can't wait. And as always, Boom, I appreciate you so much as well. Crispy, always a pleasure talking to you, man. It's great. And Tempest, you already know, man, we're multiplayer buddies and we're always here to the end. So I appreciate that, guys. And keep you. They need to freaking blow it out the water on Thursday. That's all I gotta say. Let's do it. It's Xbox time right now. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. And last but not least, someone that will in fact kill you while playing multiplayer.
Oh, that's facts. He will.
He's that good, folks. If you want to team up with him, hit him up obviously on a PSN, but I think mostly Xbox he plays on. He is our resident MMO know-it-all, but he also plays something called Neo 2, which he's quite enjoying. As a matter of fact, he's enjoying it so much that he wants a second PS4 for the missus so she can get down with him, and that is awesome. Tempest Son, dude, obviously you bring it each and every week, and we love having you a part of this program. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, which, by the way, you've been very busy on Twitter as of late, and where they can team up with you potentially on Xbox Live and PSN.
First off, welcome, Middle-Aged Gamer. It's good to have you aboard the Primetime crew.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and at the Tempest Sun is my Twitter. I'm pretty sure my PSN is Tempest Sun, just no space, and then the Tempest Sun with the space is my gamer tag. I'm going to be trying out that Rogue Company. You can get it for like $15 right now on the it sucks, but the Epic Games Store, and it's going to be cross-play. So if anybody's planning on playing that on like PlayStation or Xbox, let me know. I'm going to look for people to play with. Don't know how much time I'll have to play it, but I want to give it a try. It looks interesting. It's a third-person shooter that just launched. Once again, give a shout-out to at Pure Flack Monkey on Twitter. I've retweeted some of his posts, but yeah, he is going in for heart surgery. Hopefully he's out of it or will be out of it soon. It's a heart transplant. I mean, that's the most hardcore surgery I think you can have. Mm-hmm. But so when he gets out of it, give him some love. Let him know we're thinking about him. And I just can't wait for Thursday. I actually got the day off.
Nice.
Oh man, I just get to wake up and be hyped to watch the show, and oh man, I'm very excited. In fact, I'm going to be on a show with Cyber here, so
nice.
Yeah, it'll be good times.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, folks. Well, listen. Obviously, we went into overtime. We hope everyone enjoyed themselves. Thank you so much for hanging out. We had over 500 people. 515 was the final number, and that's a lot of people considering this is a small show that still has not even hit 5,000 subs. I want to thank everyone who continuously donates to the super chat. I mean, obviously, it is tremendously appreciated, and of course, I try to reach out to everyone, even if you don't, donate to the super chat. I try to say hello to everybody. If I missed you, I just want to say thank you for hanging out. This was a great show, and I definitely appreciate the support that this community has shown me. And obviously, if you enjoyed tonight's content and you want to do something positive, drop a like into the and hit that thumbs up. Also, put this on social media, let other people know about the channel, all the shows, and keep your ear to the floor. Thursday morning, I'm dropping a big bomb, which I can't talk about officially yet, but I will on July 23rd. And of course, keep your eyes and ears tuned in directly to Double Barrel Gaming. I am going to be producing a ridiculous amount of live shows covering everything that is happening. And if you enjoyed this show, you're probably going to enjoy the others. So everyone, have a great night. Enjoy gaming on whatever you're playing on. Treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. Good night, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Future of Xbox podcast that goes live at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.